Here we go. I am about to get into my Dallas Cowboys winning the Super Bowl. And I'm about to get into how the WNBA has risen and is now falling because of Caitlin Clark. And I'm about to get into what I thought of President Trump calling for the Washington football team to go back to being called the Redskins. Haven't said that name in a long time. And I'll also get into why I first thought Scottie Scheffler's pre-open statements were blasphemous. But first up here on the Skip Bayless Show, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, my old friend LeBron James Sr. I read this the other day in The Athletic, and I quote, amid the constant speculation recently about LeBron James's future, both the Lakers and people close to the NBA's all-time leading scorer expect that he will be with the organization for training camp once the season begins this fall. League sources told The Athletic, period. End of statement. And I say, well, duh. I've been trying to tell you so for what, about a month now? No matter how much LeBron huffs and he puffs and he bluffs, he's going nowhere. He brilliantly took the onus and the focus off 3 straight choking fourth quarters, and of course games 3, 4, and 5 against Minnesota, and he successfully delivered the message to his billions of blind witnesses that he still wants to win a championship now, even if the Lakers want to slowly rebuild around Luka. You pulled it off, LeBron, but no. The point is, it's that the Lakers aren't sure they can win a first-round playoff series with you. With you going 27 straight fourth quarter minutes in games 3, 4, and 5 without scoring a single point. You, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, went more than half of a game. 27 straight fourth quarter minutes over 3 fourth quarters, scoring nothing, LeBron. That's why there was no way Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss were ever going to add extra years to your contract. You were miffed and hurt over that? Seriously? Delusionally? You were very fortunate that they went ahead and gave you the $52.6 million option year, which of course you jumped at instead of becoming a free agent, which you could have been. You want to retire a Laker because you believe you were born to be a Laker in Hollywood, where your second career will commence if it hasn't already. In Hollywood, where you and your wife are building a forever hilltop home high above Beverly Hills. Congratulations. But to me, here's the new X factor you've recently inserted into your basketball equation, and that is golf. Instead of going back to the basketball lab, it sounds to me like you're now in the golf lab trying to learn to play the world's hardest game at age 40. I warned you about this a couple of shows ago. Golf is as addictive as it is difficult and incredibly time-consuming. I'm sure you figured this out. It takes, 4 to 5 hours to play 18 holes. Now you're taking lessons. I know you're taking lessons. I know you're practicing for hours and hours in ways you've never practiced making free throws, of course. And obviously. And yeah, I know Steph is a big golfer, but he's been playing at a high level since he was a kid. Steph still believes he can compete professionally. Tony Romo, my ex-Cowboy quarterback, fell into that trap when he was trying to play quarterback for my Cowboys. Tony had always been a very good golfer since he was a little kid. And he suddenly wanted to qualify for the U.S. Open, which took so much time and focus away from football, even in the offseason. Big mistake. But now, LeBron, I even hear you are out playing at the club I belong to, the best golf course, best golf club in Los Angeles, California. I'm talking about Brentwood Country Club. I've seen J.J. Redick out there. Maybe you played with him. I've seen DeAndre Jordan and Russell Westbrook. Maybe you played with them. I did say in a previous show, I'd love to see you out at Brentwood, and I'm pleased and proud that you did experience the golf course and the camaraderie at that club. It's a great place. But now that it seems you've suddenly taken up golf at age 40, as you approach year 23 in the NBA, is this the first signal you're preparing for life after basketball? Is this the first indication that year 23, that sacred number worn by your hero and mine, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, that year 23 will be your last year in the NBA, LeBron? Is that the message? Is that the takeaway from you taking up golf? I mean, at 6 feet 9 inches tall, you're obviously not thinking about playing pro golf. Your eyes are just too far away from that tiny little golf ball way, way, way down there. So it seems like you're taking up golf the way Barkley did, just as a post-basketball hobby, just some alternative way of scratching your competitive itch. Though mostly Barkley's itch has scratched him back, even though he did have a nice tournament here of late out in Reno Tahoe. Congrats on that, Charles. You actually look decent for the first time in your life playing golf. And yet, LeBron, golf is even more than scratching competitive itch, because it's a great way to hobnob with studio heads. I'm sure you've thought about that. But the question I have is, have you finally decided this is it? This year is it? That the Lakers will almost certainly force you into retirement? Because there's no way you want to go finish elsewhere. That's my takeaway. That's what it feels like to me right here, right now. The only way to prolong your career in LA would be to show the Lakers in next year's playoffs that you can play a crucial role in helping carry them on a deep, deep playoff run. But you know, and I know, you haven't been capable of doing that for really the last 3 years. You play too many minutes during the regular season. You build in the excuse, well, I just ran out of gas. And you do run out of gas, as you did against Denver 2 years in a row and against the T-Wolves this year. But rebuilding yourself into a player who could help carry the Lakers on a deep, deep playoff run would require living in the lab, the basketball lab, right here, right now. Not just for a few minutes like you did, I think you're up in New York, so your people can doctor up the shirtless shooting video. The blind witness will say, oh, he still got it. What did that take you? 15 minutes of shooting? Jump shots, not free throws, jump shots. I'm just not sure you want to make that kind of commitment to basketball anymore, Bron. So the truth is, you'd better learn how to yell Thor. That, as I'm sure you've learned, is what you yell when you've hit a shot way right or way left, endangering other golfers on the golf course. Thor! LeBron, you have been forewarned. Now, before I get to the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl, quick thought on FanDuel. Nothing says summer fun like adding excitement to the game while your friends are out getting sunburned on the beach. Summer sports are calling your name. You got baseball under the stadium lights. You got golf, as we saw over the weekend, on pristine green fairways. those at Royal Port Rush. You got soccer matches with world-class goals. You got all the action-packed moments in between. You've got camps opening across the NFL. You could get down an early bet on that Thursday night opener. I got the Cowboys +7 at Eagles. I know you're going to spend all day following your favorite sports on your phone anyway. You might as well make it more thrilling with FanDuel. Open the app today to see the daily promotions. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open that FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/SKIP. Just use my first name, SKIP. That's FanDuel.com/skip to get started right here, right now. Okay, I can't help but talk about the hottest NFL story of Sunday night. It was all the rage. It led all the websites. It was a story by ESPN's Todd Archer out of Oxnard, California, as the Cowboys were arriving. Todd Archer caught Tyler Smith, the Pro Bowl guard for my Cowboys. And I'll just read you the top of his story. Pro Bowl guard Tyler Smith is not shy about what he expects in 2025 as training camp begins this week. Super Bowl champions, Tyler Smith said. That's always the expectations. Duh. And then Todd Archer, of course, points out the Cowboys have not played in a Super Bowl since, whence, 1995. They haven't reached an NFC championship game in the past 30 years. The longest drought in the NFC. Tyler Smith, cross-examined, said, I think it's a realistic goal. Yeah. You don't? He asked Todd Archer. And I'm sure it sounded like I watched the video. Todd was kind of stammering. No, I don't think Todd Archer thinks that's a realistic goal. And the reason that story detonated, the reason it took off, the reason it went viral was because it has come to this for my Dallas Cowboys. Everybody was laughing at Tyler Smith, who, by the way, is merely the best guard in football right now. Zach Martin was. He's gone. I believe Tyler Smith, you can look it up. You can look at the rankings and the ratings. If he isn't already, he will become the best guard in football. And yet, these quotes from Tyler Smith, that the goal, as far as he sees it, is to win the Super Bowl, and that he realistically believes the Dallas Cowboys can win the Super Bowl, has become an object of scorn and ridicule around the country. Everybody is laughing at this Dallas Cowboy for saying his Dallas Cowboys sure can win the Super Bowl. I mean, there was a time when that was no laughing matter, but that was 30 years ago. There was a time when every year through the 90s, can't wait for the documentary to drop about Jerry and his 90s dynasty Cowboys that I wrote 3 books about and will be featured, I think, prominently in this new Netflix documentary that will drop on, I believe it's August 18th. Don't miss. But there was a time through those years when it was a duh that Dallas was favored to win the Super Bowl, that every Cowboy shrugged and said, yeah, we're here to win the Super Bowl, and nobody laughed. Nobody scoffed. Nobody scorned my Dallas Cowboys. But the fact that Tyler Smith, who's a really, really good football player, just shrugged and said, I think we can win the Super Bowl. Isn't that what I'm supposed to say? The fact that he did say that became a laughing matter and drove that story up the charts on all the websites into, for a while, the top story on Sunday night. What? It has come to this for my Dallas Cowboys? I mean, what else should Tyler Smith say? No, we don't have a chance? Well, I don't know. Would you laugh and scoff if he said, no, I think we got no shot? I mean, we're in a division with the Eagles, and I'm going to get to I can't even say their nickname now, Commanders. I'll get to that in just a moment. But they're stuck in this division with those two teams, who just well might be the two best teams in the National Football League as we speak. I get that. I mean, it's come to this for me as a Cowboy fan after I picked the Eagles to win it all last year. Now they have released their Super Bowl rings, which feature a secret little button that you can push to extend the wings, fly Eagles fly, on the sides of the Super Bowl ring. There's some saying on it from Nick Sirianni. I can't remember what it is because I don't want to remember what it is. But they won. To the victor go the spoils. They can flex, they can flaunt because they did that. Way to go, Eagles. And yet, I'm going to stand by this. This is going to be my preseason theme all through camp. I do like this Cowboy team way more than I liked last year's Cowboy team. With George Pickens opposite CeeDee Lamb, that makes CeeDee Lamb even better at what he does, and I still believe that he is the best all-around receiver in football. So let's see. I do have the best guard in football in Tyler Smith. I do have the best all-around receiver in football in CD, who will be enhanced by the fact that I do now have a George Pickens in his contract year trying to show Mike Tomlin how wrong he was to dump all over George Pickens as he pushed him out the back door in Pittsburgh and let the Cowboys steal him for a third-round pick. The best deep ball receiver in football is now a Cowboy opposite CeeDee Lamb. So am I talking? No, I'm not talking Super Bowl. I did look at their schedule. At first glance, I just like the way it's set up. I like the way the opener sets up at Philadelphia. I like our chances. I'm here to back it up, reiterate. And could I see them getting on a roll and winning 13 games? I could. That would be the talk and shock of the National Football League, but I could. So I applaud Tyler Smith for saying exactly what he should have said, even though the NFL world is still laughing at Tyler Smith. And they will continue to laugh at me and my Cowboys because now the player that most people believe is their best player, Micah Parsons, who's actually overrated if you look at his sack totals fade down the stretch year after year. But Micah Parsons is going to be forced to miss all of camp. I'm on the record with this. I have detailed it for you. I've told you exactly how this story will play out, his locked out holdout, so to speak. But this is what Micah Parsons said on the 6 Feet Under podcast about getting a new deal done with Jerry Jones. And this was a big duh to me. Micah said, we obviously want to get it done early. Good luck. We want that relief off our backs. Yeah, I get it. But obviously, ownership's always going to make it drag out, make it more complicated than it has to be, lack of communication. Micah, this is why I have lost respect for you. I thought you had leadership potential. I no longer believe that. I thought you had some young, youthful sort of wisdom about you, that you could see it and feel it and knew what was really going on. But you don't. This is Jerry's grandstand moment. Any big new deal that needs to get done is about Jerry forcing you to hold out throughout training camp because he's going to be out in Oxnard on a daily basis answering questions about you. that makes him even more famous, and he's obviously the most famous or infamous owner in the history of sports. And yeah, I know all about George Steinbrenner, but this man owns the world's most valuable team, most valuable in history. He is the most visible owner ever, and he will be even more visible throughout Oxnard's training camp because of you, Micah. He is feeding off you. He is piggybacking you into even more fame and infamy, because he will get asked again and again about what's going on with Micah. Well, we've talked here and there. What's his agent's name? Jerry said, it's a couple of months back, he didn't even know what Micah's agent's name was. This is all about Jerry's spotlight, all about Jerry being able to tell his friends over dinner, yeah, I'm teaching him a little lesson here. I'll give him his money, but I got to make him wait. And he'll make him wait and miss all of Oxnard. And I will guess it will be maybe 5 days before the season opener, that Thursday. Maybe it'll be that weekend before that. Finally, Jerry will say, okay, that's enough. Let's get this thing done. And he will make Micah Parsons the highest paid defensive player in history. He will overpay Micah Parsons after making him miss all of training camp and just almost the entire buildup to the regular season, and put him at risk, Micah Parsons, at risk of getting hurt. That's just how Jerry does business, as Jerry calls it. Jerry will think he wins, and I will lose. Congratulations, Eagles. Congratulations, Commanders. Ugh, what a sorry name for a team. Quick thought before I proceed. You can make your summer sizzle with Omaha steaks sizzling out on the grill. Ernestine and I love Omaha steaks. We love sending Omaha steaks for gifts, for Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, for just thank you gifts. We have sent Omaha steaks many, many times, always scoring, because we always hear back on the night those steaks, or whatever meat has been chosen for the gift, on the night those steaks are on that grill, we always hear from those people about how great Omaha steaks are. I've always believed in them. I think you should too, especially if you're in need of making somebody happy, such as yourself, this summer. You can visit omahasteaks.com, omahasteaks.com, for 50% off site-wide during their blazing hot sale, summer sale. This is the time to buy Omaha Steaks. And for an extra $45 off, that's pretty good, you can use the promo code SKIP, just use my first name, SKIP at checkout. Use promo code SKIP at checkout. That's 50% off omahasteaks.com and an extra $45 off just by using promo code SKIP, SKIP, at checkout. Check it out. See site for details. Thank you very much. So I found yesterday's post from President Trump very interesting on many, many agree/disagree levels. That post said, and I quote, "The Washington whatevers should immediately," all caps, "change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team." There is a big clamoring for this. Likewise, the Cleveland Indians, one of the 6 original baseball teams with a storied past. Our great Indian people in massive numbers want this to happen. Their heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them. Times are different now than they were 3 or 4 years ago. We are a country of passion and common sense. All caps. Owners, get it done with 3 exclamation points. And later, President Trump doubled down social media by threatening to derail the Washington football team's attempt to rebuild the stadium on the grounds inside of old RFK Stadium, a stadium I went to way more times than I hate to admit. I used to call it the rickety field for knuckleheads during that rivalry. Those Redskins from, 1982 to 1991, went to 4 Super Bowls and won 3. Okay. Now allow me, as a lifelong diehard Dallas Cowboy fan and as a native of Oklahoma, to break down what I agreed with and what I do not agree with in President Trump's post about the Redskins. For the record, I remain outraged over what white people, believing themselves to be God's people, did to the original settlers of what became America. My state of Oklahoma originally was the land the U.S. government gave to the 5 civilized tribes after our soldiers conquered them and forced them to move from their homes in the southeast portion of this country to reservations in what eventually would become the state of Oklahoma. And by the way, that's a term from the Choctaw language that means red man or red people, Oklahoma. Thousands from these 5 tribes in the deep South were forced to walk all the way to Indian Territory in Oklahoma, and thousands died along the way in what became known as the Trail of Tears. Look it up. Worse, we shrank the land given to those 5 civilized tribes when we in the state of Oklahoma opened up Indian Territory to white homesteaders in what was called the Land Run of 1889. So where did the nickname University of Oklahoma Sooners come from? Well, Sooners were those who jumped the gun the night before, crossed the land run line on the Kansas-Oklahoma border, and under the cover of darkness, staked out the best home plots and lots. Yep, the football team I grew up loving, the OU Sooners, was nicknamed for those who cheated, and the entire land run was cheating the 5 civilized tribes out of some of the land that was promised to and originally given to them. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of naive white settlers were heading west feeling entitled to any and all the land that had already been settled by fiercely proud tribes from the Comanches out to the Apaches. We started arrogantly building homes on their land, and did they ever start fighting back? I remain on their side. Maybe the best nonfiction book I've ever read is Empire of the Summer Moon. I highly recommend it if you got the stomach for it. It's about the war between the Comanches and the U.S. troops. Unspeakable atrocities were committed by both sides. We ultimately prevailed, but throughout the book, I couldn't help but root for them. I grew up around many of what then were called Indians. Why Indians? Because Columbus was so off course that when he landed in the Caribbean, he thought he was in the East Indies nearing India, so he started calling the indigenous people Indians. What? Our original settlers were misnamed Indians because the man who discovered America thought he was in India? How stupidly wrong was that? I grew up watching cowboy versus Indian movies in which the Indians were always portrayed as the evil villains and often referred to as those no good Redskins. To me, Redskins remains a racist nickname. I mean, what if an NFL team had been nicknamed the Blackskins? But here is the nuance. The Redskins were clearly feared across the West. In the book I mentioned, Empire of the Summer Moon, the Comanches are called the greatest light horse cavalry in the history of the world. These were bareback riders firing dozens of arrows a minute. Never been anything like them. So I grew up hating but fearing the Washington Redskins because to me, the real Redskins, the Comanche, the Apache, the Sioux, ask Custer about the Sioux, were some of the mightiest warriors in the history of this planet. It took about 100 years for thousands after thousands after thousands of our soldiers with superior weaponry to finally overcome and civilize those mighty warriors. I must admit, I came to love/hate the nickname Redskins because Cowboys versus Redskins was literally the story of the country. The Redskins were literally representing the capital of the United States of America, and somehow deep down, I actually liked that. In a way, as racist as the term was and is, it also represented a people we had done so wrong, a people who had fought so bravely, so skillfully, so intelligently for so long. Seriously, all I ever wanted to be as a little kid growing up in Oklahoma was an Indian brave. They had to earn their manhood, had to learn how to survive in the wilderness, had to be ready and able to fight to the death. That's what I wanted to be. Truth be told, every time I now refer to the Washington football team, I come very close to saying that word that almost sounds now like a taboo word that you can't say. I'll say it now for the sake of this. Redskins. Every single time I almost say Redskins. It's part of my psyche. I grew up with it. Cowboys versus Redskins, the best rivalry in pro football. Every time I say the nickname Commanders, I just flinch because it's just so dumb. Now that Jaden Daniels has this team on the verge of going to the Super Bowl, they almost got there last year. I won't be shocked if they get there this time. But now that that's on the verge, Commanders just sounds dumber than ever to me. I just can't say it. Now I just try to say Washington without using any nickname. Washington. For that matter, Guardians is equally ridiculous to me when referring to Cleveland's baseball team, even though I don't consider Indians as racist as Redskins. I don't know, maybe some indigenous people do consider Indians as racist as Redskins, which brings me back to my point from the start about these nicknames. President Trump, I'm going to repeat, said in his post, our great Indian people in massive numbers want this to happen. Their heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them. Well, it has been taken away, past tense. So if someone can conclusively demonstrate that a majority of tribal leaders across America are all for the return of Redskins and Indians as team nicknames, then I would be all for it. We went through this a number of years ago, back in my first take days. Some tribal leaders would speak out pro and some would speak out con. I just don't know. But if you showed me that a consensus were now pro, I'm just hoping this will at least spark a new wave of debate. I'm hoping tribal leaders everywhere will just stand up and speak out on this starting now. Whatever their consensus opinion is, if there is a consensus, and maybe there isn't, but I'll stand behind the majority. Maybe I'm just being just another naively arrogant white person, but I must admit I do miss Washington, D.C.'s NFL team being called the Redskins. Quick thought, when shoppers do choose to buy your products, you can turn them into loyal customers with cheaper, faster, and better shipping. Shipping is obviously the key to the life we live today. You can go to ShipStation.com and use the code SKIP to sign up for your free trial. Go to ShipStation.com right now /skip. That gives you a free shot, a free trial at ShipStation. There's no credit card or contract required. You can cancel anytime. So check it out right here, right now. That's ShipStation.com, code SKIP. Code SKIP. Okay, you probably saw these quotes last week. I certainly did. They shocked me maybe more than they did any other sports fan, especially golf fans. These quotes shook me up the most because I do believe in God. Let me explain. Scottie Scheffler, who works hard at never saying anything to the media, just suddenly absolutely unloaded in a press conference about how winning major championships just wasn't fulfilling to him anymore, just didn't mean anything to him anymore compared to being a great father and a great husband. This was the day before the British Open. Scottie Scheffler, the prohibitive favorite, said, and I quote, "This is not a fulfilling life. It's fulfilling from the sense of accomplishment, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of the deepest places of your heart." That's something that I wrestle with on a daily basis. It's like showing up at the Masters every year. It's like, why do I want to win this golf tournament so badly? Why do I want to win the Open Championship so badly? I don't know, because if I win, it's going to be awesome for 2 minutes, said Scottie Scheffler. Then he made the point that he's worked his entire life to win his hometown PGA Tour stop in Dallas, Texas, the Byron Nelson. I covered it many, many years. But, said Scottie Scheffler, you win it, you celebrate. He did win it this year. You win it, you celebrate. Get to hug my family. My sister's there. It's such an amazing moment. Then it's like, Okay, what are we going to eat for dinner? Life goes on. It feels like you work your whole life to celebrate winning a tournament for like a few minutes. It only lasts a few minutes. Sometimes I just don't understand the point, said the best golfer in the world. What? A guy who has a chance to be Tiger Woods, maybe even be Michael Jordan, was questioning what it all means on the eve of a major championship that he'd never won? My initial reaction was, well, R.I.P. Scottie Scheffler as a major championship winner. He had doubted, he had questioned, he had asked why. He was, I thought for a moment, done. You know me, I'm all about the GOATs being cold-blooded sports killers, being obsessed with winning to the potential detriment of everything else in their lives. Win or else, win or bust, win or go home to nobody. See Tiger Woods, see Michael Jordan, see Tom Brady. And on a far, far lower level, see me. Yep, I've always been obsessed with maximizing the talent God gave me. Now, I have come to resist, as I've said before, the label of Christian or especially evangelical Christian because so many non-believers now use these labels against true believers because they connote far-right hypocrisy. I did grow up attending a Methodist church, still do, but I prefer to just say, I believe in God and I believe in the Bible and leave it at that because that is what I do. So I believe I can understand Scottie Scheffler better than other commentators who do not know God, worship God, understand anything about what Scottie Scheffler deeply believes because I do. Look, there are a lot of hypocritical Christian athletes out there. I have known many of them. Scottie Scheffler is not one of them. I believe Scottie Scheffler is a true believer, that he's a legit God guy, that he does have God in his heart. But here's where Scottie Scheffler and I differ. To use a word Scheffler has often used, I felt called by God to be the very best truth-telling commentator and writer I could be, the very best. However I could maximize my talent that God gave me, I'm going to do it. To do so, I sacrificed having children because I saw that correctly raising children would be a huge time-draining distraction from maximizing my talents, which were public speaking, debating, understanding sports at the highest levels, writing at the highest levels for newspapers and magazines and book publishers. You might say I took on the persona of a cold-blooded media killer driven to achieve at all costs while honoring God and giving, or as we say, tithing to my church, supporting other great causes, as I have over the years. I have been blessed. I do give back. But my obsession cost me my first marriage, and there have been times, many times, I've wondered if Ernestine would keep putting up with me. I mean, it feels to her like I watched just about every game ever played. Thankfully, she does hang in with me. She is everything to me. She's my rock. She's my constant companion. She's my best friend. But then again, on our first date way back in 2005, I told her if this relationship goes anywhere, and I knew from the start it would, that she would always be number two to my career. I told her that. I declared myself from night one. She likes to say she fought her way all the way up to 1A in my life. I'll give you that, Ernestine. I have no idea if Tiger or Jordan or Tom Brady have a spiritual side, because I've never heard them talk about God, not that I can remember. All three were just obsessed with winning. They couldn't wait to win again and again and again until their bodies finally just gave out, because each of these three believed they were born to dominate. Nothing made them happier than dominating. So it was that I was jolted and jarred by what Scottie Scheffler said on the eve of the British Open. No, Scottie, no. God gave you spectacular ability to play the world's hardest game, gave you the strongest competitive drive since Tiger, gave you what Jack Nicklaus had, what Ben Hogan had, and you can't just shrug it off at age 29 and focus on, as you said, being a better father than a golfer. You can't do that, Scottie. No, God wants you to maximize the platform from which you can honor him and encourage fans to open their hearts to him, to God. That's what God has led or called you to do, Scottie, not to focus on your wife and infant son before you're 30. Golf is just too hard. The line is just too fine between dominating and missing cuts. So when I first listened to Scottie Scheffler's "What's it all mean" comments the day before the Open, I couldn't help but think he would not win another major. Jack won 18, Tiger won 15. I couldn't help but think that Scottie would be stuck on 3. And you know the bottom line. Scottie Scheffler then double shocked me by going out and destroying the British Open field. Destroyed it. His one weakness used to be his putter, his flat stick. He led the British Open in putting. He stunned me with how rock solid he looked. He was stroking home so many crucial par putts with such conviction and rhythmic authority. He and his coach have worked so hard over the last 2 years to get that stroke right, to get it where he can fall back on it, lean on it, trust it under the greatest pressure. And Sunday at the Open was the greatest pressure. He made 4 or 5 par putts you just don't usually make. So Scottie Scheffler is the most consistent driver of the golf ball on tour. He's obviously the best iron player in golf. And he was number 1 at the British Open in putting, and he continued to lead golf in bounce back factor. He does. He leads in the stat called bounce back, where if you have one bad hole, you come right back with a great hole. So Sunday at the Open, he doubled number 6 when he left his escape attempt in one of those fairway pot bunkers. Just got a little greedy, smashed it into the lip and back into the sand, almost went into his footprint, but he was fortunate. Got it out, but made a double, and he bounced right back on 7 with a birdie. That's what he does. He bounces right back. He is, at this moment, unbeatable. And of course, after he'd won, he was asked about his pre-tournament soul searching. This time, after he had time to sleep on it, he said, what motivates me is I feel like I'm called to do this to the best of my ability. He said that his preparation is what he leans on every first tee, the first day of every tournament. He just says, I did the work, which he does, and the work will prevail. Attaboy, Scottie. That's it. That's exactly what you could have, should have said the day before the tournament. Now, Scottie did go on to say on Sunday night, my greatest priorities are my faith and my family. Golf is not how I identify myself. No, Scottie, but it's how you can build a monument to God. Deep down, I believe Scottie Scheffler is driven to be the greatest of all time. But he's careful not to express that publicly because he doesn't want to come off as flaunting his fame and his fortune. Doesn't want to come off as appearing to be turning into somebody he's not, some godless egomaniac, lost in the mirror. So he scoffs at the thought of becoming better than Tiger, scoffs at those questions which he got Sunday night, even though health permitting, Scottie Scheffler will play 43 more majors before turning 40. And even though it certainly appears his home life won't become the distraction it was for Tiger and for Jordan and for Tom Brady. In fact, the golf media, as I was reading it Sunday night, Monday morning, is now considering Scheffler's faith first, family second, golf third as his superpower, as his stability, as his even keelness, his consistency of life that will carry him through his 30s toward age 40. So now I'm thinking Scottie Scheffler is going to be the best player in golf for a long, long time. Yeah, I give you this. He can be boring to watch. I'm a golf nut, so not boring to me, but maybe to you. He doesn't hit it as far or as wildly as Tiger did in his heyday. And Scottie Scheffler doesn't have anywhere near Tiger's flair for the dramatic or Tiger's thunderstorm emotions constantly on display. It's like Christian athletes never seem to have much edge, always written off as boring. But trust me on this, Scottie Scheffler's competitive toughness is right there with Tiger's. His ability to last in this sport is well beyond Tiger's. If Scottie Scheffler just keeps winning majors, the routinely boring will become must-see legendary as God is my witness. As you know, I love watching Caitlin Clark play basketball. A whole lot of people love watching Caitlin Clark play basketball. She single-handedly made the WNBA a thing, a national thing, even though the older stars still don't want to believe or accept that. And now, right before their very eyes, they're rolling at Caitlin Clark. Just as they want to be paid for what they're owed, thanks to Caitlin Clark, the coach that took them to the Cinderella's ball, I'm talking about the transportation coach, Caitlin Clark's coach, as in transportation, as in buggy, is turning back into a pumpkin right before their very rolling eyes. What a strange, strange saga this season has turned into for Caitlin Clark. And of course, I have my theories. She had played 181 straight games from her college years through her rookie year last year. 181 straight without an injury. 181. That's a lot of games. No injuries. Then, she missed some preseason games with what was announced as left leg tightness. Huh? Then she missed 5 regular season games with what was announced as left quad strain. Then she missed 5 more regular season games with what was announced as left groin. Now she has missed the last 2 games, regular season games, along with the 3-point shootout and the All-Star game in her house, Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, where she was reduced to being, of course, a coach/cheerleader. She's missed all that with what was announced as a right groin. And she's still iffy as the league resumes its regular season games. So I've gone back and watched the play on which she, according to the team, pulled her right groin. That came with 39 seconds left against Connecticut up in the Boston Celtics house. And the play just looks so routine to my eyes. There's no awkward slip or fall. She makes a sweet little feed to Kelsey Mitchell, breaking free down the baseline for a layup. No doubt Caitlin's the best passer in the W. But as she turns to trot back up court, she grabs her right groin. Then she goes and lightly bangs her head against the far stanchion in frustration. Then she goes to the bench and covers her head with a towel in abject frustration. Now, Caitlin did take a fall a little earlier in that game, but she was able to keep playing with no sign of any groin pull at all that I could see. I don't know. So that's 4 leg injuries in 2.5 months. After playing 181 straight games with no injuries, you've had 4 leg injuries, soft tissue injuries in 2.5 months. Now, I'm not talking about a knee injury, not talking about a shoulder. Thank God we're not talking about the dreaded Achilles issue. But still, I can't help but wonder what is going on here with Caitlin Clark. I'm sure the other stars enjoyed having the All-Star stage to themselves, but they had to know what was coming. Ultimately, as I record this, the ratings for Saturday night's All-Star game are not yet out, but I'm pretty certain they won't be anywhere near last year's record of 3.44 million with a peak of over 4 million. I'm pretty sure without Caitlin Clark, that did not happen. So this all made me wonder if maybe Caitlin got so tired of all the ungrateful resentment and all the petty jealousy that she finally said, okay, let's see how you do without me. I have no proof whatsoever that that did happen, but I did wonder if that were happening. I mean, did you see what Kelsey Plum said at halftime and then after Saturday night's All-Star game? At halftime, she strongly made the point in an on-court interview that her team was going to pour it on Team Clark because her team was so much better than Team Clark. Then afterward, she was sitting next to Sabrina Ionescu of Team Clark, who played for Team Clark, and Kelsey Plum, who played for the winning team. They won, 151 to 131. Kelsey Plum said, the idea to wear those pay us what you owe us t-shirts came out of a meeting that Saturday morning. A meeting, said Kelsey Plum, that, and I quote, 0 members of Team Clark were very present for. A remark a clearly surprised Sabrina said, with sort of a forced chuckle, was not needed to be mentioned. Ha ha ha. It sounded like Kelsey Plum was taking a shot at Caitlin Clark for not being that interested in fighting the league for more money because she, Caitlin Clark, makes so much off the court. Man, this league has now so many veteran divas in it that nobody ever watched before Caitlin Clark arrived. These veteran divas are now so full of themselves because they've actually deluded themselves into believing they're at least as big at draws as Caitlin has become. What they all should be most worried about right now is that their golden goose, Caitlin, is ailing. Caitlin just keeps pulling things and missing games. She's missed 11, played in 12. And missing games has prevented her from finding any kind of shooting groove or rhythm. I'm not going to lie about this. I'm not going to gloss over it as big a fan as I am of Caitlin's, but she is in an all-time bad shooting slump. She's now shooting 27.9% from three. That ranks 56th of 57 qualified players in the WNBA. Even more horrifying, Caitlin Clark is now 2 of 35 from three on the road. 2 of 35, that's 6%. What? Allstate Insurance won't love hearing that. You've seen the new commercial from the logo. From the floor isn't much better right now. Caitlin is shooting only 36.7% from the floor. That ranks 56th of 62 qualified in the league. And while her 8.8 assists per game is second in the W, her 5.1 turnovers per game are by far the worst. Angel Reese is second, way down at 3.8 to her, Caitlin's 5.1. Whew. The Fever actually, as you probably know, won the Commissioner's Cup championship game without Caitlin Clark. So the leading vote getter in the All-Star game is, cold hard truth, having a terrible season so far. In fact, it has been so bad that sometimes I've wondered if maybe she took a few games off just to give herself a much-needed mental break. I've wondered that. I mean, you realize there's a 30-story poster of Caitlin Clark, her going up for a jump shot, that covers the entire east side of the JW Marriott in downtown Indianapolis, a poster you can see from anywhere in downtown, maybe from a mile outside downtown. So talk about pressure, and on top of that, so many veteran stars try to get physical with her, try to bully her. Man, Caitlin Clark has had a rough year. But all I know for sure about the WNBA is that it had better get Caitlin Clark physically and mentally healthy or risk sliding right back off the national map. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest here. I find it difficult to watch WNBA games without her on the floor. I did watch most of the All-Star game on Saturday night, mostly just to see how she would react as an unofficial coach. But guess what that game turned into? All the other players tried to be Caitlin Clark. That's what happened. From the logo, from the logo, from the logo. The league had put in circles alongside the logo for 4-point shots. You had to have your feet inside the circles alongside the logo to get 4 points. And even the post players were launching them. I'm sure agents were telling all their players before the game, these are the shots that made Caitlin famous. Launch them. It's just an all-star game. It was hard to watch. Man, I miss Caitlin Clark. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing, to Ernestine for overseeing, and of course, to Hazel for approving.